Good morning, students. Welcome to 8th Standard Social Science, Civics, 7th Unit, the Judiciary. So, children, try to listen carefully to this session and in case of any doubts, make a note of it which shall be clarified on the day of reopening. So, now let's enter into today's topic. So, the judicial system of a country needs to be efficient in order to ensure proper justice to all. So, judicial system means the law and order system. So, the judicial system of a country must be very efficient in order to maintain a fair justice in a country. And also, India has a single unified and integrated judicial system, and judiciary plays an important role as an organ of the government. It administers the justice, it settles the dispute, it interprets the laws, it protects the fundamental rights and acts as a guardian of the constitution. So, the judicial system, it provides justice, it settles the dispute means it settles the problems in the society, and it interprets the laws. If there is any fault in the law and order, it will interpret the law. It will protect the fundamental rights of the society, and also totally it acts as a guardian for our Indian constitution. That's why judicial system of a country plays a vital role. So, the judicial system, it needs to be efficient. An efficient judicial system will provide an efficient government. So, now let's see what is law. So, the definition of law. It is a system of rules imposed through a government or institution to govern the people. So, law means a set of rules. So, law means a set of rules which is imposed, which is framed by the government to govern the people. And what is judiciary? So, let's see the definition for judiciary. In law, the judiciary or judicial system is the system of courts. So, judiciary means system of courts, whereas laws means set of rules. So, the system of courts which administers the justice in the name of the state. So, in law, judiciary means court which gives justice in the name of the state means on behalf of the government. So, now let's see how the Indian judiciary system evolved. So, the evolution of Indian judiciary. So, the evolution of Indian judiciary system can be classified under three time period, that is ancient period, medieval and modern period. So, now let's see the judiciary system during the ancient period, that is during the early days. So, during the ancient times, the concept of justice was linked with religion. So, during the early days, the justice was given based on the religious concept. The king was regarded as the foundation head of justice. So, king was the head of the judicial department. And also, most of the king's courts dispense justice according to dharma. So, according to dharma means righteousness and duty. A set of conventional laws, dharmic laws govern not only by the individual but also by the society. So, most of the kings, they gave judgment based on the dharma or based on some Vedic books or the religious books. And some books like Smritis, that is Manu Smriti and also Narada Smriti. So, these are all the books by which the king gave the judgment. So, these are all the books which define the social duties for an individuals. And also Yajnavalkya. So, Yajnavalkya Smriti. So, based on these texts only, the king gave the judgment. And also, the republics of Ghana had their own system of law. We find the existence of Kulika court. Amongst the Bajis, there was a board of 8 Kulikas for the investigation of criminal cases. Appeal proceeded from Kula courts to Ghana courts. So, in ancient period, there was an evidence for the existence of Kulika court, that is 8 Kulika court which investigate the criminal cases, and the appeal will be proceeded from starting from Kula Court to Ghana Court, like your district court, high court. In those days there were Kulika Court and Ghana Court. So now let's see the judiciary system during the medieval period. So mostly the medieval period was a Muslim rule. So let's see it. The Tughlaq period saw the compilation of the Code of Civil Procedure. So during the period of Tughlaq, there was certain updation in the civil procedure and it was called Fiqh-e Feroz Shahi. So it was called Fiqh-e Feroz Shahi. And also the code prescribed details of the procedure and the law in several matters. It was written in Arabic and translated into Persian. So this code during the Tughlaq period, it was written in Arabic and later it was translated into Persian. So there was a details about the procedure and the laws in several matters. And also this was followed till the reign of Aurangzeb, when it was replaced by Fatwa-i Alamgiri written in 1670. So this was followed. So this code of civil law was followed till the period of Aurangzeb. Later it was replaced by Fatwa-i Alamgiri, which was written in 1670. Next one is judiciary system during the modern period, that is during the British rule or the colonial rule. So let's see it. The Indian judicial system and laws we have today was formed by the British during the colonial rule in the country. So whatever laws we are following now, it was framed by the British. And also the beginning of the Indian codified common law is traced back to 1727 under the Charter of 1726, when the Mayor's Court in Madras, Bombay and Calcutta were established by the East India Company. So according to the Charter of 1726, so charter means a document, a government document which was implemented in 1727, a Mayor's Court was established in the three presidential cities of British, that is Madras, Bombay and Calcutta. Later, according to the Regulating Act of 1773, it made provision for the formation of Supreme Court. So according to the Regulation Act of 1773, it laid the foundation for the formation of Supreme Court. So based on that, a Supreme Court was established for the first time at Fort Williams in Calcutta. So based on the Regulation Act of 1773, the Supreme Court was established at Fort William at Calcutta. And then Sir Elijah Impey was appointed as the Chief Justice of that court. So Sir Elijah Impey was the first Chief Justice. Sir Elijah Impey was appointed as the Chief Justice of that court. And then later in 1801 and 1824, Supreme Courts were established in Madras and Bombay. That is, in 1801, Supreme Court was established in Madras. Followed that in 1824, a Supreme Court was established in Bombay. So during the colonial period, three Supreme Courts were functioning at three presidential cities, that is Madras, Bombay and Calcutta. And also, these Supreme Courts functioned until 1862, when they were replaced by the High Courts at all the three places. So these Supreme Courts were functioned till 1862. Later it was replaced as High Court. And then Warren Hastings, he established Mofussil Diwani Adalat to resolve the civil disputes and Mofussil Fauzdari Adalat to resolve the criminal dispute. So later Warren Hastings, he established two courts. One is Mofussil Diwani Adalat. So Diwani Adalat, it deals with civil cases. For example, property case, like that, it deals with civil cases. And the Mofussil Fauzdari Adalat, it deals with criminal cases. And also, Lord Cornwallis reorganized the civil and criminal judicial system. So he reorganized the Warren Hastings system, Under Cornwallis, the district Fauzdari court was abolished and circuit court was set up at Calcutta, Dhaka, Murshidabad and Patna. So under Lord Cornwallis, the district court were abolished. It was taken down and the circuit court was set up at Calcutta, Dhaka, Murshidabad and Patna. And also during the period of Lord William Bentinck, 4 circuit courts were abolished. So later during the period of William Bentinck, the circuit courts were also abolished. Abolished means taken off. And next one is the Calcutta High Court is the oldest high court in the country, which was established in 1862. So the Calcutta High Court is the oldest high court in India, which was established in 1862. Whereas the Allahabad High Court is the largest court. The Allahabad High Court is the largest court in India. And then a law commission was set up by Macaulay which codified the Indian law. So the law commission was set up by Macaulay and it gave certain upgrades in the Indian law. On the basis of this commission, that is on the basis of Macaulay's commission, a Civil Procedure Code of 1859, an Indian Penal Code of 1860 and Criminal Procedure Code of 1861 were prepared. So because of Macaulay's commission, 3 codes, that is a Civil Procedure Code of 1859, Indian Penal Code, that is IPC of 1860 and Criminal Procedure Code 1861 were prepared, and the Government of India Act 1935, it created the Federal Court. And then the Supreme Court of India was inaugurated on 28th January 1950. So Supreme Court of India in New Delhi was inaugurated, means was opened on 28th January 1950. So now let's see about the judiciary and our Indian constitution. So far we have seen about the evolution of judicial system starting from the ancient period to modern period. So now let's see the relationship between the judiciary and our Indian constitution. So let's see it. So India framed its own constitution. It has its own constitution rules. So among the noble aims and objectives of the constitution, the founding fathers accorded the highest place to justice. So the Indian constitution, it has its own features and objectives. And also during the British period, Indian had neither law nor courts for their own, and both the law and courts had been designed for the colonial power. The Constitution Assembly members therefore tried to ensure the independence of the courts with full power of judicial review. So, the Constitution members, they tried to set up their own rules and regulations. The constitutional members of India, they tried to set up their own constitutional rules and regulations, and they tried to free from the colonial power, means from the British power. So, the Supreme Court rules of 1966 are framed under the Article 145 of the Constitution to regulate the practice and procedure of the Supreme Court. So certain rules are there for the functioning of Supreme Court. So it was framed under the Article 145 in the year 1966 to regulate the practice and the procedure of the functioning of Supreme Court. And next one is, the Supreme Court of India is the highest court of the land as established by Part 5, the Union under Chapter 4 titled the Union Judiciary, and Part 6, the State under Chapter 6 titled Subordinate Courts to the Constitution of India. So, the Supreme Court is regarded as the highest court of the country, and under that only we are having High Court, District Court and subordinate courts. And Articles 124 to 147 of the Constitution of India lay down the composition and jurisdiction of the Supreme Court of India. So according to the Articles 124 to 147, it says about the composition and jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. That means the classification of courts. And the first political philosopher who propounded the idea of an independent judiciary was Montesquieu, the famous French philosopher. So the first political philosopher is Montesquieu, and he was a famous French philosopher. He believed in the theory of separation of powers. So he believed in the theory of separation of powers means the powers can be separated into each department. For example, the three branches of government are legislature, executive and judiciary. So he believed that if the functions are separated, then it will be implemented very effectively. For example, legislature, they will make the laws, executive, they will implement the laws, and judiciary, they will look after the law and order of the country. So now let's see the structure of courts in India. So the structure of courts, it works at 3 different levels in our country. So let's see it. So this is the court hierarchy. So first one is the Supreme Court or the apex court, means the top level court. Below that, High Court. So High Court, each state will have an High Court, and then District Court for each district. So this is the functions of each court. The Supreme Court, it will take decisions are binding on all court. So the decision will be determined by the result of all these courts, and it can transfer the judges of High Court. So the Supreme Court has the power to transfer the judges of High Court, and also can move cases from any courts to itself. So the Supreme Court can move the cases from High Court to itself, and it can transfer the cases from one High Court to another High Court. So these are all the functions of Supreme Court. Next one is High Court. It can appeal, it can hear from the lower court. So if the judgment is not satisfied with the district court, we can move the case to High Court. Can issue the writs for restoring fundamental rights. Writs means a document, and also can deal with cases within the jurisdiction of the state. It can take the state level cases and exercises superintendence and control over the courts below it. So the High Court can control the below courts. Next one is District Court. So each district will have a court, and it will deal within the district level. It considers appeals on decision given by the lower court. Lower court means subordinate courts, and it decides the cases involving serious criminal offences. And then subordinate courts, it considers cases of civil as well as criminal nature. Civil means some land related cases, or criminal cases. So now let's see about the function of each court. So first one is district courts. The courts that hear civil cases at the district level are called district court. So the court that hears civil cases means some property related cases like that. So it will deal only with district level. So such courts are called district courts. And next one is session courts. So session courts can hear criminal cases, and this is called session courts. So the courts that can hear criminal cases are called session courts. And next one is Panchayat courts. So the Panchayat courts deals with civil as well as criminal cases at the village level. So the Panchayat courts, it deals with civil and criminal cases at the village level. And next one is revenue courts. So revenue means some income related cases. So the revenue courts, it deals with the cases of land records. So some property related cases, and also accesses and collects land revenue, that is land tax, from the landholders. So these are all the functions of revenue courts. And next one is Lok Adalat. So Lok Adalat, it is also called People's Court, which you have studied in 7th standard. So Lok Adalat was set up to provide speedy justice. So we can get the justice on a very speed rate, and it hears and settles the disputes in the language of the people in the public presence. So the Lok Adalat, the judgment will be speed, and it will hear and settle the problem in front of the public. So a Lok Adalat is presided over by a retired judge. So this court is headed by a retired judge along with a lawyer and some social workers, and cases are put forward without any advocates. So without any advocates, the cases are handled in Lok Adalats, and these cases are solved through mutual consent. And next one is, the first Lok Adalat was held on 1982 at Junagadh of Gujarat. So the first Lok Adalat case was held on 1982 at Junagadh of Gujarat. Next one is fast track courts. So the fast track courts were established in the year 2000 with an aim to clear the long pending sessions and other lower judicial cases. So the fast track course was started in the year 2000 to clear the cases which was pending for a long duration. And next one is tele law initiative. So tele means over call. So we can call over the phone. So to provide legal aid and to service the people in rural areas. So rural areas means in the village areas. The Tele Law Initiative was launched by the Ministry of Law and Justice in collaboration with the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. So, Tele Law Service, it provides the law service over telephone call. It is mainly implemented for the people in rural areas. And people can seek legal advice from the lawyers through video conferencing available at the Common Service Center on the TeleLaw portal, a technology-enabled platform. So there is a portal or a website called TeleLaw where the people can have video conferencing with the lawyers and can discuss with the case. So that is called TeleLaw service or TeleLaw courts. And next one is family courts. So family courts specifically handle family law matters. They are civil courts and are utilized for various family related claims such as child custody, divorce, adoption, juvenile issues, etc. So family courts is a type of civil courts which deals with family related matters. And next one is mobile courts. So mobile means moving. So mobile means moving courts. So let's see the definition and functions. Mobile courts will be of great relief to rural people. So rural people means village people. It could create greater awareness about the judicial system among the rural masses, cut costs for them and render justice at their doorstep. So mobile court means in a van they will frame a court. So that is called mobile court. So the justice can be offered at their doorstep. And it is very good for rural people, means for the people who live in villages. And next one is e-court. So e-court means through website. So let's see it. The e-courts project was established in 2005. So this website was launched in 2005. According to this project, all the courts will get computerized. So all the courts will get computerized means there will be one website for every court where we can check the case details by logging into the website. So Judicial Service Center is the part of e-court and the public as well as the advocates can ask directly the case status and the next hearing dates with free of cost. So we can know about the case status and the hearing dates using this portal or website. And next one is NALSA, that means National Legal Services Authority. So the National Legal Service Authority has been constituted under the Legal Services Authorities Act of 1987 to provide free legal service to the weaker sections of the society and to organize Lok Adalats for amicable settlement of disputes. So NALSA means the National Legal Service Authority. It was established by the Act of 1987. It provides free legal service means free advocates will be offered for taking up the case for weaker section means for the people with poor background. So now let's see the role of judiciary. So the role of judiciary can be classified into three categories. First one is dispute resolution. So dispute means problems So it can clear the problems in this within the citizens, or within the citizens and the government, or within the two state government, or within the central and the state government. And next one is judicial review. So judicial review means suppose if the judgment given by the High Court is not satisfied, we can review the judgment and we can appeal it in the Supreme Court. So that is called judicial review. So the judicial has the power to declare a law unconstitutional if it believes that the law passed by the parliament is violating the basic structure of the constitution. For example, if a law which is passed by the government is it is not benefited for the society, means we can take up the case. And next one is upholding the law and enforcing the fundamental rights. So every citizen of India can approach the Supreme Court or High Court if they are denied with their human rights. If they are denied with their basic fundamental rights, they can approach any court to get the rights. So these are all the role of judiciary and the three different functions. So now let's see about the Supreme Court of India. So this is the highest court of India and it is located in New Delhi. And according to the Constitution of India, the Supreme Court is the guardian of the Constitution and the highest court of appeal. So Supreme Court is located in New Delhi, and in the court hierarchy, it is the highest level court. So now let's see the jurisdiction of Supreme Court. So what are the jurisdiction? First one is original jurisdiction. So original jurisdiction means the Supreme Court can hear the dispute for the first time in that court only. So we can directly approach the Supreme Court. Or it is mainly concerned disputes between the union and one or more states and between two or more states. So original jurisdiction means the case can be directly filed in the Supreme Court if there is a problem between the union and the state or two or more states. And next one is appellate jurisdiction. So appellate jurisdiction means if the case is moved from the High Court or other subordinate courts to the Supreme Court, then it is called appellate jurisdiction. It can hear appeals against the decision made by the High Court on granting the certificate by the High Court. Next one is advisory jurisdiction. So let's see what is advisory jurisdiction. The court can report to the President its opinion about a question of the public importance referred to it by the President. So the court has the right to report to the President about the opinion of the public related to the laws framed by the Parliament. And next one is writs jurisdiction. So writs means some articles or documents. So the writs are issued by the Supreme Court under the Article 32 and by the High Court under the Article 226 of the Constitution of India. So these are all the articles under which the documents are issued. And next one is the Court of Record. So Court of Record means the Supreme Court, it maintains the records of the court proceedings and its decisions are finding upon the lower court. So it maintains a record of the cases. And next one is other special power of Supreme Court. It supervises the functioning of lower court. So the Supreme Court, it supervises or controls the lower court. So now let's see about High Court. Each state will have a High Court. And this is the highest court in the states. Every state in India has a High Court. 2 or 3 states may have a common High Court. For example, Punjab, Haryana and Chhattisgarh is having one common High Court. It has original, appellate and writs jurisdiction. Below the High Court, there are subordinate courts in the states. So, the High Court is the top level hierarchy in the state level. Whereas in the country level, Supreme Court is the top level hierarchy. So, every state will have a High Court, or otherwise 2 or 3 states can share the one common High Court. For example, Punjab, Haryana and Chhattisgarh. So these 3 states, they have one common High Court. So in High Court, we have original jurisdiction, that is directly we can file a case in High Court, or appellate jurisdiction means from the district court the case can be moved, or with jurisdiction. So they issue the articles. And also below High Court there are subordinate court. So the High Court will control the district court and the subordinate court. So now let's see the independent and impartial function of judiciary. So the judiciary must be an impartial. It should not show any partiality. Then only the justice will be fair. The framers of the constitution established independent and impartial judiciary in India. Impartial means without showing any partial, the judgment must be given. Independence of judiciary is important for a purpose of fair justice. And also, therefore, the framers of our Indian constitution at the time of framing our constitution were concerned about the kind of judiciary our country should have. So the framers of our Indian constitution, they are very much concerned about the independent judicial system. And according to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, there can be no difference of opinion in the House that our judiciary must be both independent of the executive and must also be competent in it. And the question is how these two objects can be secured. That means an effective judiciary should be independent as well as accountable. So the independence of the judiciary is the independence of the functions by the judges in the unbiased manner. So unbiased means the judges must give a fair judgment without any external influence. They must be fair without showing any discrimination before the eyes of laws. So now let's see about PIL. So PIL means public interest litigation. So PIL is a litigation filed in a court of law for the protection of public interest. The Supreme Court introduced this system which allows a person to approach the court with his case. So that means based on the public related matters, a person can approach the court. So PIL can be filed for the following reasons such as violation of basic human rights, religious rights, pollution and road safety. If there is any violation in these categories, a PIL case can be filed. So this could be done by a written letter stating the case. So this can be filed by a written letter. So this concept is unique to the Indian judiciary. So it is a special feature. So now let's see the difference between the civil law and the criminal law. So civil law, it deals with money, property and social matter. So civil law deals with money related matters, property and social. Whereas criminal law, it deals with the conducts or acts that the law defines as offense. It deals with the criminal cases. Next one is a petition has to be filed before the relevant court by the affected properties. So in civil law, the petition must be filed. Whereas in criminal law, FIR. So FIR means first information report with police investigation. After then only the case will be filed in the court. And also the sentences awarded for the civil law is in the form of money, remuneration as per the petitioner claim. So the punishment may be in the form of paying fine. It is up to the petitioner. Whereas for criminal law, the punishment is awarded if proven guilty, they will be sent to jail. So this is the difference between the civil and the criminal law. So we have come to an end of today's session. So with this video, the judiciary lesson is completed. So you can refer your textbook pages. So today's topic are covered from page number 217 to 222. So now it's time for questions. So let's see some evaluation questions, and in case of any doubt you can go through the whole session video once again, or else you can refer your textbook. So let's see the questions. So first one, why do we need judicial system? Second question, what are the different levels of court in India? Third one, differentiate the law and judiciary. Fourth one, write a note on Lok Adalat. And finally, what are the advantages of mobile courts? So children, try to answer all these questions in the notebook which you are maintaining for social science. So with this video, Civics 7th unit, that is the judiciary lesson, is completed. Thank you.